one less ecclesiastical level. Presbyteries within a larger region have flexibility to reorganize in any way they want, including non-geographically, as long as it will further congregational mission, and it's done on a provisional basis. What we want to do is say, let's do some experiments. Let's allow people to gather together, to covenant together, to not break ties with their traditional geographical, historical places where they've been nurtured and cared for, and instead allow them to come together in new experimental ways of being together. What it does is we believe that it re-engages the pew with the presbyteries. If every congregation is asking the question to its elders, so who's the corporate bishop that we want to mutually submit ourselves to? How much of our problems today, if we're not growing, do we really think is about our presbytery or our brand as the denomination? And how much is it about us? How much authority or power do you need? Instead of blaming them, let's give you back the authority and power to do whatever you need to it, as long as you stay within the connectional system of what it means to be Presbyterian. And let's know that you have all the ability to experiment in any way that you believe will further the mission of Jesus Christ. We believe it's genuine adaptive change. When you hear that language a lot, I get time to spend a lot of time around the country helping groups work on how to do transformation in organizations and systems. And one of the key pieces we talk about is that genuine adaptive change never takes place until you give the work back to the people most affected. And in so many places, we're the ones sitting up here, and the people most affected are the people in our pews, aren't they? The people around us, the churches that feel as if they're dying, or our inability to reach our neighbors and our friends. Let's, instead of having national, constitutional, regulatory structures telling us how we're to organize, let's allow from the bottom up churches to talk together about the organizational structures they want. Create collaboration and connection for missional congregations. If you want to put 5 or 10 congregations together, and you want to create a presbytery in this structure, you can. If you believe that too much money is spent on infrastructure and you want a streamed down version of it, you can try it. If you want to instead come together around certain missional objectives that are deeply important to your congregations, you can do so. And it allows us to deal with the underlying issues. I believe the biggest issue in the life of our church is trust. Whenever we talk about these issues, what we all immediately go to is someone who's going to run with the scissors. Someone's going to exploit this or use this in a negative way. Someone's going to take advantage of a flexible structure and is going to hurt somebody. And what we want to say is, look, let's hold relationships. Let's keep people accountable. Let's make sure people collaborate. But let's trust each other. Martin Luther King has this great quote, right? Where he says, laws do not change the heart. They restrain the heartless. When I talk to Presbyterians, I think we assume we're all completely heartless. I've been around the country, and I can tell you that there's a bunch of people who disagree with me on a lot of things, but I've met a bunch of folks who agree with those same yearnings. They want churches that are vibrant. They want the mission of Jesus Christ to go forward. They want new worshiping communities. They want to reach a new generation with the gospel. We may not agree on a lot of things, but if we can at least give each other room, like the wisdom of Gamaliel, to try some things and see where the Spirit is, I believe we'll begin to restore some of the trust in our denomination as well. And lastly, it focuses our efforts on the place where we need real change. I don't believe that changing any of our structures is going to change anything. We have to revitalize our congregations. It's the congregation which is the body of Christ in a local environment. It's as presbytery structures, as the ecclesiastical structures, the general structures serve the congregations, we'll be focusing our effort on the place where we need change. Why do this? Because it focuses our structures on serving the congregations. Congregations in covenant community. It's not congregationalism. San Clemente Presbyterian Church is in a covenant community that is Los Ranchos Presbytery. You all know how this functions. You know, we can't build a building. We can't call a pastor. We can't make big decisions without us all agreeing that it's the wise thing to do. And in the same way, this would continue to function. It continually says that congregations have to stay in covenant community. That's what presbyteries are. And it strengthens that connectionalism by giving that authority back to those groups of people to create the covenant. It also says that congregations are the locus of mission. It reminds us that over and over and over again that we have to continually come back to that. And that it gives us mechanisms for focusing easily on creating new worshiping communities. It allows people who want to start new ministries to be able to plant new churches, to be able to engage in new mission opportunities, the freedom and flexibility at the local level to do so. Perhaps for me, the main reason to do this is that it focuses on health, not dysfunction. I am so tired of being in a system that because one person made a mistake in another part of the country, we have now a regulation that is now in constitutional form in this part of the country. That so many of the ways that we say we're going to do things Presbyterian have to do much more with the rule book than our theology, our relationships, our ecclesiology. But this focuses on more congregational engagement, more personal responsibility taking. If you want to be responsible for your presbytery, you'll have to be involved in it. If you want to have more flexibility, you'll have to take responsibility and be part of it. More passionate convictions, more freedom and creativity, and clear, safe boundaries. Presbyteries still have the decisions. No congregation can go off by itself. You have to still be in conversation, but presbyteries would have the power to create new ones, even non-geographical ones. And what it really does is it engages the emerging generation in this creative collaboration. In the last year, I spent time at both the Next Church conference and at this church, at the conference in Minneapolis with this one. And what was interesting to me was, at both conferences, there was another conference going on behind the scenes. It was on the Twitter feeds, it was in the halls, it showed up today in the second question that was asked is, what's your plan to do with folks under 35? There's an entire generation that now thinks about organizations differently. It's the social media generation. It's the digital age. It's the inventive age. It's people who are used to making stuff and producing things. We're sending my daughter to Africa, my 15-year-old daughter to Africa with her iPhone. Her job on Easter Sunday is to take videos and send it home so that on our Easter Sunday service, we can see a testimony and witness report from that morning's Easter Sunday service in Africa. We will have a praise report with a sister church in Africa on Easter Sunday, and it's going to be done by my 15-year-old daughter with an iPhone. We live in a day where our younger folks are used to engaging, of interacting, of being together. When was the last time, think of 5 years ago, would there have been a Twitter feed, send your questions on Twitter? This gives us a mechanism for creating an engagement with people who have got more authority, more power, more willingness to be flexible and create. It basically says, I said to the younger members of our commission, I said, if this passes, we're going to be giving the church right into your hands. We're going to give you all the opportunity to create the structure in the Presbyterian church that you have always wanted to be part of. All you have to do is take responsibility, grab it, and build it together. Be faithful to our theology, be faithful to our polity, work together as we're called to do, and you can build it if you want to. You want to reach your generation? Here's the keys to the kingdom. Go do so. It gives opportunities for this inventive age. For me, this is also deeply theological. This is what Reformed and always reforming has always looked like. Think about this. The Reformed Church, the Presbyterian Church, it was the Church of Scotland. It was a national church. When it came to the United States, it did not become the Church of America. And it took on an entirely different form on American soil. And now today, in a post-Christendom world, it takes on a new form. Same theology, same commitments, same ecclesiology, and it affirms the heart of what we believe. People will ask me, what's the essential of being a Presbyterian? Elders rule. Elders rule. Elders ruling and teaching elders together, collaborating, making decisions. We don't have a bishop. We're the group that said, instead of a bishop, let's do this by committee. That was an adaptation for another age. And for us today to say, instead of geography, let's do this by mission. is a faithful expression. If elders together, ruling and teaching elders together, discern that this is the best way to structure our churches and covenants together for the sake of those congregations fulfilling their mission so they can reach a dying world, then they'll have all the authority to do so. It adapts for the sake of mission. It allows for creativity. It remains deeply connectional. And it addresses the key problem of trust. Why also do this? It's not top-down. Our proposals do not require change. If this gets passed through the General Assembly, and we'll be in a conversation for the next year in our presbyteries about how much do we trust each other, how much flexibility will we give each other, how much are we willing to see these changes happen, and it would be done in a year. And all of the ability to have all of the authority you need to create the structures that you believe are best for your church would be in place. And yet you do not have to change one thing. If you love where you are, if you have relationships with you are, if you're in the structure that you want to be in, if it serves your church, then you just carry on. And if other folks need to make changes, they have the flexibility to do so if they'll take responsibility to do so. Why I also like it is, it's not just talk. One of my friends likes to say, we Presbyterians are so good at talking about stuff, after a while we think we've actually done it. This is not debating. This is not another season of conversation. This is about discerning and doing. It's about experimenting. It's about saying, let's be together for an experimental season of time. And if any time along the way we think this isn't working, we can always go home again. We can always go back to the structures we've used before, and we can try it again. People have said stuff like, we need, one of my friends, Roger Dermody at the General Assembly, has had this great vision of starting 1,001 new worshiping communities. I mean, I so love it. But I told him, Roger, the problem is that this is way too small. What we need is 10,001 failures so we can create 1,001 new worshiping communities. We need to experiment boldly. We need to learn new ways to do ministry. We need to be open to saying we may not get it right the first time, but we've got some things that anchor us theologically, polity. And from there, we'll be able to have more than internal discussion. We'll have missional action taking place. The report is huge. It's 100 pages, and it's 200 pages of data. There's a 12-page executive summary. The first few pages are all of the recommended reports. It's all available online. You can see every part of it. You can download it. I'm blogging on it. John Vest is blogging on it from the Fourth Presbyterian Church of Chicago. There's also a host of incredible good material. We did a survey of all the best practices in every presbytery in the country. There's a section of the report put on that Liza Hendricks and a group committee of folks worked on that basically shows every place, what we call every color of vitality in the life of the church. If you're trying to create a new presbytery and you're not sure what that looks like models-wise, we can show you models that are already working that you could adapt into your area. And there's a thorough consideration of context. There's a long, wonderful, in-depth historical analysis of all the data, of all the changing places, the things that we referred to today that you can have for. You can find all of these things that are available in our website. And I'll be glad to give you any of the rest of the information that you want. You can contact me. I'll send you the links. This stuff will be available online